Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you love? Your mom, your husband, maybe even your lifelong best friend, and for a brief moment, you saw something was missing. A pause, a blank stare, a forgotten name, and suddenly your heart skips. It's not panic, not yet, but it's that quiet, nagging question. Is this just aging or something more? You're not alone in wondering. Recent research from the Alzheimer's Association shows that the earliest signs of dementia can begin a full year or more before any official diagnosis is made. And the most heartbreaking part? Most families don't recognize them until it's too late. But that doesn't have to be your story. This video isn't here to alarm you. It's here to equip you, to help you notice the subtle signs, to help you start gentle conversations, to help you stay connected to the people who matter most before memories start slipping away. According to the Alzheimer's Association, more than 6.7 million Americans aged 65 and older are currently living with Alzheimer's disease in 2024. Nearly half of them began showing symptoms long before a diagnosis was made. But here's the good news. With early detection and support, many can delay further decline and continue living independently much longer. That's why in today's video, we'll walk through 7 often overlooked early signs that doctors and experts urge us to watch for. And most of all, to help you stay connected to the people who matter most before memories start slipping away. Today, we'll walk through 7 often overlooked early warning signs that experts and doctors urge you to pay attention to, especially if you or someone you love is over 60. So whether you're here for yourself or watching on behalf of someone you love, please stay with me, because sometimes noticing the whisper can change everything. Let's begin with a sign that many people ignore because it hides in plain sight. Many people mistake it for simply having a foggy morning or being a little more tired than usual. Ellen, a 71-year-old retired elementary school teacher, used to be the rock everyone leaned on. For 3 decades, she managed a classroom full of lively third graders, balancing lesson plans, field trips, and report cards with precision. At home, she was the organizer-in-chief. Grocery lists, family vacations, budgeting, everything ran like clockwork under her care. She was sharp, practical, and prided herself on being the one with the answers. But lately, Ellen's confidence has started to waver. A few days ago, she sat in front of her laptop trying to pay her electric bill, something she'd done countless times before, but this time the screen looked unfamiliar. She stared at the login box, her fingers hovering uncertainly over the keyboard. Then slowly she reached for her phone and called her son. "I know we've been through this," she said quietly, "but can you walk me through it one more time? I'm just not sure where to start." She wasn't forgetting what the bill was. And she didn't misplace her password. The issue was deeper. She couldn't visualize the steps anymore. What used to be automatic now felt like staring at a puzzle with missing pieces. This isn't just forgetfulness. This is something neurologists call a decline in executive function. And according to the Mayo Clinic, it's one of the earliest cognitive shifts in Alzheimer's disease. Executive function is how the brain organizes, sequences, and carries out multi-step tasks. It helps us cook a meal, follow a recipe, set a schedule, or complete anything that requires a beginning, middle, and end. Think of it like baking a cake. You start mixing, you add ingredients, and then suddenly, midway through, you can't remember if the eggs went in. You're not sure what step comes next. The logic, the order, it all slips. And what used to feel simple now feels confusing and overwhelming. And here's the hard part. Many people brush it off. They tell themselves, maybe I'm just tired, or I guess I'm not as tech savvy as I used to be. But when that uncertainty happens again and again, it may be a whisper from the brain asking for attention. If you've ever caught yourself saying, "Why is this suddenly so hard for me?" That might not be failure. That might be your wisdom speaking, gently nudging you to notice the change. So what can you do if this is starting to show up in your life or in the life of someone you love? Doctors often recommend simplifying tasks into smaller steps. If paying a bill feels like too much, break it into pieces. Open the website, find the login, check the amount, then click pay. Use sticky notes or checklist apps like Google Keep. Place printed reminders near your workspace or the fridge. Create routines that don't change from week to week. The brain, especially when aging, finds comfort in repetition. And most importantly, don't feel ashamed to ask for help. Asking doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're choosing to stay connected, choosing to adapt, choosing to keep living life fully, even if the pace is different now. Because here's the truth. You are still the same Ellen, still the teacher who shaped young lives, Still the parent, the partner, the person with wisdom earned through decades of living. This is not about losing who you are. It's about listening more closely to what your brain is trying to say. Coming up next, we'll explore a sign that's often shrugged off as just getting older, but can quietly erode independence if ignored. Let's talk about the kind of memory slips that hide in plain sight and what they may be trying to tell us. Now let's talk about something even more familiar and far easier to dismiss. It starts small. You walk into the kitchen and forget why. You misplace your keys, even though you always leave them on that same little hook by the door. You miss a doctor's appointment you swore you'd written down. And later that day, you catch yourself telling a story at dinner, only to realize you've told the same one yesterday. This isn't forgetting names of movie stars or where you parked at the grocery store. This is about the little slips in the routines you've done for decades, the muscle memory things. The I never used to forget that things. That's what happened to George. At 76, George still walks with the proud posture of a Marine. He served in Vietnam, built a business from the ground up, and raised 3 kids who call him their hero. He's known for being disciplined, methodical, reliable. So when he started misplacing his wallet every other day, it didn't sit right. At first, he laughed it off. Old age, he joked, my brain's gone soft. But then, one afternoon, he left the stove on, burning a pot of rice until smoke filled the kitchen, and last week he missed his heart medication twice. That's when his daughter stepped in, not to scold, but to gently say, Dad, I think something's changing, and it's okay to talk about it. These small lapses might not seem dramatic, but when memory slips start affecting safety or daily function, neurologists say it's time to pay attention. According to Dr. Anita Powell, a cognitive neurologist at UCSF, when forgetfulness begins to interfere with safety or routines, it's time to track it, not just brush it off. She explains that while occasional forgetfulness is normal with age, dementia-related memory loss is different. It's not just about forgetting, it's about not remembering that you forgot. You don't just forget where you put the keys, you forget you were even looking for them. There's also a pattern. The forgetfulness isn't random. It starts to cluster around important parts of life, medications, bills, dates, conversations, tasks that used to be automatic. So what can you do? First, start noticing patterns. Keep a small log or journal, not to panic, but to get a clearer picture. Did you forget breakfast or just delay it? Did you forget a name or retell the same story twice in a day? This helps not only you, but your doctor track what's normal and what might need attention. Second, try what memory specialists call external anchoring tools. Use pill organizers with alarms. Set daily calendar alerts on your phone. Create checklists for morning or evening routines. Even better, use visual memory cues, a small red card by the stove reminding you to turn it off, or a printed weekly planner that sits open on the kitchen table so your schedule is always in sight. And finally, don't be afraid to talk about it. Noticing changes doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're brave enough to stay in tune with yourself. Because memory isn't just about information. It's about connection. It's how we stay grounded in our relationships, our habits, our identities. So if you or someone you love is starting to feel off more often than usual, lean in, not away. There is help. There are tools. And above all, there is still so much life ahead. And if you've ever had to gently remind someone of something twice in one afternoon, comment number 2 below to let us know you're here. You're not alone, not even close. Up next, we'll explore a sign that doesn't show up in memory at all, but in the way we see the world. Let's talk about vision changes that aren't about your eyes, but about your brain. Sometimes it's not the memory that goes first. It's the world around you starting to feel just a little bit off. Have you ever walked through a familiar room, your kitchen, your hallway, and suddenly bumped into the edge of a table you knew was there? Have you felt like your body was moving faster than your eyes could follow? Or maybe you looked at a map or a road sign and realized you couldn't quite tell which way was north anymore. That's what happened to Linda. At 69, Linda still had her sparkle. She loved her independence, driving herself to the farmer's market every Saturday, picking up her granddaughter from dance class, running her book club like clockwork. But in the last few months, something began to shift. She started hesitating behind the wheel, not because she couldn't see the road, but because, as she described it, everything feels jumbled. Like the world around me is moving in slow motion, but my brain's trying to catch up. She began missing turns she'd made 100 times. She confused left with right, and one night she clipped the edge of her garage trying to park, something she hadn't done in 40 years. Her eyes? Perfectly fine. But her brain? It was struggling to interpret what those eyes were seeing. This kind of difficulty is called visual-spatial processing decline, and according to the Alzheimer's Association, it's one of the lesser-known early signs of dementia. You see, when we look at a room or a street or a map, our brain isn't just collecting color and light, it's mapping space, depth, movement, orientation, and when that mapping system starts to falter, even well-lit, familiar places can feel strange. Some people start to misjudge distances, reaching for objects and missing, spilling coffee, stumbling on curbs. Others begin to struggle with tasks like reading, even though their vision is clear, because the words feel like they're floating or skipping on the page. For Linda, the scariest moment came one evening when she walked into a restaurant restroom and couldn't remember which door led out. She stood there, frozen, her heart pounding, not because she forgot where she was, but because nothing looked right anymore. This isn't about bad vision. It's about how the brain interprets space and direction. And if you, or someone you care about, has started experiencing this kind of disorientation, there are small changes that can help in a big way. First, focus on environments with clear lighting and contrast. Avoid dim or cluttered rooms. Add night lights in hallways and bathrooms. Second, if driving starts to feel uncomfortable, even if your eyesight is perfect, listen to that instinct. Avoid driving at night or in unfamiliar areas. Third, gentle orientation exercises like Tai Chi, chair yoga, or simple guided meditations can help your brain regain a sense of presence and direction in space. And just like with memory, the earlier you notice these signs, the more empowered you are to adapt. Because here's what we believe at Golden Wise Elders. You are not defined by the days you bump into a doorway or the turns you forget to take. You are defined by how you choose to move forward with grace, courage, and curiosity. If this feels familiar to you or reminds you of someone close to your heart, leave a comment below and let us know how you're navigating it. Your story might just help someone else feel less alone. Up next, we're diving into something even more subtle. What happens when someone starts reacting differently, not to the world around them, but to the people in it? Let's talk about the emotional shifts that can signal a deeper change long before memory loss becomes obvious. Sometimes the change isn't in what a person remembers, it's in how they feel, or rather, in how they seem to feel less like themselves. Maybe someone who used to be warm and affectionate now snaps over small things. Maybe they've grown suspicious, guarded, even around people who love them deeply, or maybe they've just gone quiet, detached, like their spark has dimmed. That's what happened with Mr. Raymond. At 81, Raymond had always been the heart of the church. He volunteered every Sunday, coordinated food drives, comforted grieving families, and made sure no one ever sat alone during potlucks. People described him as gentle, grounded, always smiling. But this past year, his daughter noticed something had changed. He started declining invitations, first to events, then to family dinners. He began snapping at the mailman. He accused his neighbor of stealing a rake that had simply rolled behind the shed. And at church, he stopped showing up altogether. When his daughter asked why, he just muttered, "No one listens. They all look at me like I'm broken. I don't belong there anymore." But the truth is, he hadn't changed overnight. The shift was slow, like a shadow that lengthened over time. And here's what many people don't realize. Early dementia doesn't just affect memory. It affects emotional regulation, as according to Dr. Casey Leung, a neurologist at Harvard Medical School. Emotional dysregulation is often a result of brain inflammation, not just aging. When the brain's limbic system, which controls emotion and behavior, becomes compromised, even the calmest individuals may experience unexplained mood swings, irritability, or anxiety. In other words, when a loved one suddenly feels distant or acts unlike themselves, it may not be just getting grumpy with age. It could be the brain signaling that something deeper is happening. Some people may become short-tempered. Others may withdraw, not because they don't care, but because the effort to follow group conversations, remember details, or keep up with others becomes mentally exhausting. Some may even seem flat, emotionless, not reacting to joyful moments or showing sadness in situations where you'd expect it. And the hardest part? They often don't realize the shift themselves. So what can you do when someone you love begins pulling away emotionally? First, resist the urge to correct their mood. Instead, lead with compassion. Ask open-ended questions like, "What's been feeling different for you lately?" Create safe, pressure-free spaces where they can just be, without expectation. Invite them for a walk, not a conversation. Sit beside them while folding laundry, not interrogating them. Second, consider whether overstimulation may be at play. Group settings, noise, or fast-paced conversation can overwhelm a brain struggling to process input. Offer calm environments, one-on-one time, and gentle encouragement. Third, explore simple emotional grounding practices together. Breathing exercises, gentle music, journaling. Even short guided meditations designed for seniors can help recenter the nervous system. Apps like Insight Timer or Calm offer free, beginner-friendly tools. Most of all, don't take it personally. Their distance isn't rejection. Their mood isn't a reflection of you. It's a signal from their brain that something is changing, and they need you now more than ever. If you've ever looked at someone you love and thought, they just don't seem like themselves anymore, please take a moment and comment number 4 below. Your story matters, and you never know who it might comfort. Coming up next, we're shifting from emotion to communication, because sometimes the first clue isn't a forgotten word. It's the silence that creeps into the room when someone no longer feels confident enough to speak. Let's talk about the surprising ways conversation becomes harder and how we can bring connection back. Some changes happen in silence, not the kind you hear, but the kind you feel. A stillness at the dinner table, a laugh that comes a few seconds too late, a conversation that trails off, never quite finished. That's what her family noticed with Doris. Doris is 75. She's the kind of grandmother who always brought energy to the room. For years, she was the storyteller at family gatherings, the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, who lit up every Thanksgiving with childhood memories and funny impressions. But recently, something shifted. Now, when the family gathers, Doris still shows up, always dressed neatly, with her favorite red lipstick. She smiles politely, nods at the right moments, but she rarely jumps in anymore. When someone asks her a question, she often pauses, searching for the right word. And when she tries to chime in, she'll start a sentence, stop, and then just chuckle softly like she forgot what she was going to say. It's not that she's disinterested. It's that keeping up with conversations has become exhausting. And here's why. As we age, the brain's ability to process language, attention, and memory doesn't always move at the same speed it used to. For someone showing early signs of dementia, processing multiple voices, layered dialogue, and rapid shifts in topic can feel like trying to hold on to sand with bare hands. A 2023 study by the National Institute on Aging found that over 60% of older adults with early cognitive symptoms struggle in group conversations before memory loss is formally detected. This isn't about hearing loss, though that can compound the issue. According to recent research from the National Institute on Aging, one of the earliest cognitive symptoms is difficulty tracking conversations, especially in noisy or fast-paced environments. This isn't about hearing loss, though that can compound the issue. It's about the brain struggling to filter, follow, and recall what's just been said. The result? People like Doris begin to withdraw, not because they don't care, but because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid of getting lost mid-thought, afraid of being seen as slipping, and that fear creates silence. So how can we help bring connection back? The first step is slow down. Speak clearly, but gently. Give space between thoughts. Use short, simple sentences, but don't talk down. Respect is felt in tone, not vocabulary. The second step is limit background noise. Choose a quiet room. Turn off the TV. Avoid interrupting each other when in group settings. Even something as simple as sitting face to face so your loved one can read lips and expressions can make a world of difference. The third step, one-on-one time. Group conversations move fast and are full of overlapping cues, but one-on-one settings allow your loved one to breathe, think and speak without pressure. Ask open-ended questions, then wait. Let the silence stretch if it needs to. Sometimes the best gift you can give is patience without rush. You can also support memory and speech through gentle activities. Try reading short stories together. Do simple word puzzles. Listen to audiobooks with clear narration. Even just narrating your day while doing dishes or walking in the garden can create pathways of shared language. And if you're the one noticing these struggles in yourself, know this, you are not losing your voice. Your voice is still here. It just needs more care, more kindness, and a little more space to be heard. Because what you have to say still matters. Your stories, your thoughts, your presence still matter. Have you ever watched someone you love go quiet? Not out of choice, but out of hesitation? If so, share your experience by commenting number 5 below. Your insight may be the key to helping someone else find their way back into conversation. Up next, we'll talk about something even quieter than silence, when joy itself starts to fade. Not all at once, but in the slow, gentle way that someone stops tending the garden or leaves their favorite book unfinished. Let's talk about when disinterest becomes something more. Sometimes the most telling change isn't what someone forgets, it's what they stop caring about. Not out of sadness, not even out of tiredness, but from something quieter, something harder to name. Carlos was never one to sit still. At 80, he still looked like the younger man who used to serenade his wife on their front porch. Every Wednesday afternoon, he played guitar in the neighborhood park, old jazz tunes, Spanish classics, even a little Johnny Cash when the kids asked. His fingers knew every chord by heart. But lately, the music had gone quiet. The guitar stayed tucked in the corner of the room, its case unopened for months. The strings had started to rust. And when his daughter gently asked if he wanted to play, he simply shrugged. I don't know. I just haven't felt like it. He wasn't in pain. He wasn't depressed. He just stopped. This is one of the most subtle and most misunderstood early signs of cognitive decline, a quiet loss of interest in the very things that once brought joy. We often think of dementia as memory loss, but long before memories fade, motivation does. The part of the brain responsible for reward and pleasure, the drive to seek meaning, excitement, or routine, can begin to lose connection. Even beloved hobbies, routines, or social rituals can feel like too much effort, too far away, or strangely disconnected. And it's not about laziness. It's not about giving up. It's about how the brain loses its bridge to joy, and joy needs to be gently reawakened. So how do we help? First, remove the pressure. Don't say, you should play again. Instead, try, I miss hearing your music. Would you teach me that song you love? Invite, don't expect. Gently rekindle, don't force. Second, meet them where they are. If reading novels feels overwhelming, bring them short poems. If gardening is too much, start with one potted plant on the windowsill. If they once loved hosting dinner parties, invite one friend over for tea. Third, celebrate small sparks. If Carlos hums a few bars, smile. If he picks up the guitar and plays just one chord, clap like it's Carnegie Hall, because every little reconnection matters, and small joys can open doors the brain had quietly closed. And if you're the one feeling that distance from your own passions, I want to say this to you directly. You haven't lost your spark. It may be dim, it may be sleeping, but it's still there, and you deserve the time and space to find it again. Sometimes it takes another person. Sometimes it takes sunlight, music, movement, or a shared memory. But with kindness, with patience, joy can return. You are not alone in this. You are not broken. You are still you, even if you haven't picked up the guitar in a while. If this story reminds you of someone, maybe even yourself, comment number 6 below. Tell us, what's something you used to love that you'd like to reconnect with? You never know who you might inspire. In our next part, we'll talk about a sign that's often the most disorienting of all, not in memory, not in mood, but in place. When the brain starts losing its sense of direction, even in familiar streets or within your own home, what does that mean? And what can we do to protect our independence for as long as possible? Let's talk about spatial confusion and why it's not just about getting lost. Sometimes the world doesn't feel quite right, not because it's unfamiliar, but because something inside makes even the familiar feel strange. It starts with small moments. You step into a room and can't remember why. You forget which day of the week it is or what month we're in. You glance at the microwave and feel confused by the blinking numbers, but then it becomes more than that. You find yourself standing at the hallway, unsure which door leads to the kitchen, in the house you've lived in for 30 years. In a recent caregiver survey, 1 in 3 families reported their loved one got disoriented even inside their own home, months before receiving a dementia diagnosis. You take a wrong turn walking to the mailbox. Or like Beatrice, you go to the bathroom in a friend's home, and when you come out, you're not sure where you are. Beatrice is 78. She's elegant, thoughtful, and fiercely independent. Even now, she insists on doing her own shopping and paying her bills. But something changed one afternoon during her book club. She excused herself to use the restroom. When she came out, she froze. 3 doors stood in front of her. Each hallway looked the same. She didn't know which led back to the living room. Her heart raced. She felt embarrassed, trapped, lost. In a house she had visited dozens of times, this kind of moment isn't forgetfulness, it's disorientation. And it's one of the most serious early signs of cognitive decline. According to neurologists at Johns Hopkins, dementia can affect areas of the brain responsible for spatial awareness and time orientation. This can lead to difficulty navigating even well-known spaces, confusion about time and date, or getting lost in places that once felt second nature. You might notice someone checking the clock repeatedly, or forgetting what season it is, or arriving late or early for appointments, unsure how long time has passed. Some begin to avoid going out entirely, not out of fear, but out of uncertainty. And that shrinking world, it can lead to even faster decline. So what can we do? Start with gentle structure. Use large, easy-to-read clocks that display time, date, and day of the week. Place calendars in visible spots, preferably ones that can be updated daily. Label rooms or doorways at home if needed. It's not infantilizing, it's empowering. When going out, use a GPS tracker or location sharing app. There's no shame in precaution. Just like we wear seatbelts, we can also protect our orientation. Walk familiar routes often. Routine helps the brain hold on to maps that matter. And if disorientation strikes, stay calm. Reassure your loved one without rushing them. Gently guide, don't correct. And if this is happening to you, know that it doesn't make you less intelligent. It doesn't mean you're a burden. It simply means your brain needs new ways to feel safe and supported. Independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing when to ask for help and having the courage to accept it. If someone you love has ever lost their way in a place that once felt familiar, please take a moment and comment number 7 below. Your voice helps raise awareness, and someone else might see it and realize they're not alone. Because when we begin to lose our way, what matters most is that someone is still walking beside us. So, we've walked together through 7 early signs of dementia. Some are quiet, some are subtle. Some show up in forgotten appointments, others in forgotten joy, but all of them, every single one, deserve our attention. Because early doesn't have to mean helpless. Early can mean empowered. You've just taken the most important first step. You noticed, you chose to learn, and maybe, just maybe, you recognize something in yourself or in someone you love. If that's true, pause here with me. Take a deep breath and remember this. You are not defined by what you forget. You are defined by what you've lived, what you've loved, and the strength it takes to keep going even when things feel uncertain. And if you're watching this not for yourself, but for someone you care about, thank you. Because what they need most right now isn't correction. It's not panic. It's not charts or checklists. It's you, your patience, your calm presence, your quiet reassurance that they are still worthy, still loved, and never alone. If even just one of these signs felt familiar, I hope today gave you clarity. But more than that, I hope it gave you comfort. A reminder that we're all navigating this aging journey together. So if this video helped you in any way, please click the like button, share it with someone you care about, and let's bring more light to the quiet struggles so many families face. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that Golden Wise Elders can continue walking with you, one gentle, thoughtful video at a time. And if you saw yourself or someone you love in any of these stories today, leave us a comment below. We'd be honored to hear your voice, because your story matters, and someone else may need it more than you know. Until next time, take care of your heart, take care of your mind, and take care of each other. We'll see you soon.